ArtSpark Texas presents a community conversation with Kemi Yemi-Ese.
Welcome to Community Conversations with ArtSpark Texas. My name is Susan Slattery. I'm the Outreach Director, and I'm here with a couple other staff folks, April Sullivan, Jerry Slayton, and of course our Artist of the Hour, who is also our February Artist of the Month, Kemi Yemi-Ese. And we are so happy to have you, Kemi. Just very excited and pleased that you can join us. So Kemi's been involved with ArtSpark Texas in the past, I think before I came on board, but I met Kemi through a drawing class that April told me about, and I really enjoyed that so much. I hadn't done that style of drawing, and it really kind of loosened up my drawing style. So I really appreciated that. Anyway, I'm going to turn this over to April, who wrote a blog about Kemi, to do a little fancier introduction of Kemi. So, April.
All right, thanks, Susan. Welcome, Kemi, and everybody else here to our artist talk. And yeah, we do this monthly, our community conversation about our artist of the month, and we pick our artist of the month kind of, I guess, just among the staff, and decided on Kemi for our artist of the month for February 2022, just because she's a wonderful artist that we have known for many years and kind of reintroduced to that drawing class, like Susan was saying. But Kemi was involved with us pretty early with when we were VSA Texas through an art contest. It was a call for art, and she submitted a piece of work to that. And then, you know, once somebody submits one piece of work, then I'm all over them for everything else, joining us and being involved in other art opportunities. So we're definitely excited when we saw Kemi's work. So amazing. And she's going to share a little bit with us later of her artwork. But she's a painter and also recently a licensed therapist. Yay! Congratulations. When did you get your when did you get your therapy license?
So I graduated in 2018, and I've been working on my licensed professional counseling hours for about 2.5 years. So I just recently, I think the second week of January, got the news that I had completed all my hours and am now a fully licensed therapist. So that was exciting.
Yeah, that's a really big accomplishment. So let's start with telling people how you got into oil painting.
Okay, well, so before I was involved in a car accident in about 2000, and that's where I sustained my spinal cord injury and now use a wheelchair for mobility. And while I was at Baylor University, I had a minor in studio art. Art has always been a kind of creative release for me. It's always been just something that I really enjoy engaging in creatively, drawing and things like that. So after my accident, when I went back to Baylor to finish up undergraduate hours, I was told that the only class that was available to me was a painting class. Because of my disability, there were a lot of things that were kind of a challenge for me to be a part of. And so I actually had my first oil painting class after my accident under Carl Umlauf. So it was a great experience, and it was my only painting class that I've ever taken. And I feel like I've gained so much from that experience that I'm still, using to this day.
What is it that you like about painting, compared to the other mediums that you use? Because I know you also do charcoal, because you did that class that Susan and I took, which involved charcoal and crayon. Other mediums, I know you've done sculpture.
So with painting, I enjoy it because, well, it's actually one of the reasons why I didn't like painting at first. I thought it was very expensive, which oil painting is expensive, but I didn't think that it was versatile. I thought that once you painted something, that was it. It was permanent. But painting is very flexible. I can, if I make a mistake or make an error that I don't think goes with the piece, I can just paint over it. Or I can even start completely over and still reuse the canvases. After a certain point, when you're drawing with charcoal or with pencil or even with ink, you really can't make that many mistakes. You really have to start a whole piece all over with a new piece of paper and everything. So I found that painting was much more flexible and forgiving than I first thought when I was very afraid of getting into the medium.
And you said art was your minor. You told me you were a pre-med student. Is that correct? What were you looking to go into, and how did that change into therapy and going into therapy?
So before my accident, I wanted to, I laugh now because I feel it's not silly to say, but it's so different from what I'm doing now. But I wanted to be a neurosurgeon before my accident. So my major was neuroscience. I am still very interested in the intricacies of the brain and neurobiology and things like that. But right now I'm a therapist, which I'm having to do with the brain, but it's more emotion-based and behavior-based rather than the actual organ itself. So I guess I still found a way to be a part of that medical community without actually having to be a surgeon. So what got me into therapy was after my accident, I had a therapist in the it the counselor, she was doing her best, but everything was by the books. Everything was, how are you feeling today? Give me a number, give me a date. And I knew what numbers to tell her to let her know that I'm okay. Because if I told her any number less than, 5, that I'm having a bad day, then all of a sudden I qualify for antidepressants. And I feel like medicine has a place, but it shouldn't be the first thing that you jump to because you are in a low mood or, facing a life of a disability when I was never prepared for that before. Like I broke my neck and now became completely dependent on other people. It's healthy and normal to be devastated for a moment by that life change. And I feel like I did not get the opportunity to express that. I had to hide it in order to not be put on medication. So I felt that, okay, you know what, since I can't be a neurosurgeon anymore because of my disability, but I could be a therapist. I could help other people with disabilities come to terms with their life change and see the strengths and the gifts that they still do possess, the way that they can still contribute to the world in the way that they wanted to before the onset of their disability. So that's why I became a therapist, so that I can give other people a sense of empowerment that they kind of already have inside them, but kind of guide them to that so that they don't feel like they are done just because they've had a life change,
Yeah. And do you use art in your therapy?
Oh yeah, of course, anytime I can, because with therapy, it's taken so much time to be in the field and to work with my clients. I've missed out on a lot of time that I can paint myself, but I always make sure that my interventions are beneficial for them. It's not about me in the room, it's about what my clients can benefit from. So, art is a very good way of bringing out into your vision, into something tangible, what your subconscious is kind of dealing with, what you may not have the words for. Sometimes you're upset or sometimes you're ecstatic and happy about something, but you can't pinpoint it exactly. You can be so sad you don't have the words. You can be so happy but you don't have the words, but you can draw about it. You can create an abstract painting that kind of is a snapshot of that mood, and you don't have to have words around it. So I feel like a lot of times when my clients are so overwhelmed by something, we switch gears and I said, well, let's just draw about it. And I, give them the time and the space to just do what they need to do. And then sometimes we talk about the drawing, sometimes we don't. And I think it's just sometimes that moment of creativity, that moment where you get to just do something and not have to talk about it is also very therapeutic. So I do that as much as possible with my clients who are in the mode and the they have the capability to engage in that way.
And how do you find time to do your own art? Like, do you have certain rituals, or I'm asking for myself too, just to
Well,
understand how I can do that more, just finding that time.
I just make sure that I prioritize days off. So as much as I really do love engaging with my clients and helping them with their own journeys, I need to make sure that I'm doing that for myself as well. So I make sure Sundays I do not talk to clients. I don't look at emails. I, face the things that I really want to do outside of work. I don't research for clients on Sundays either. I do all my research Monday through Saturday. But I make sure to keep that time. And the more that I keep that space sacred, the more I'll see other places during the week where, okay, well, I may not have a client this time, but maybe I can write out a plan for what I want to do on Sunday, other creative things that I want to explore, and make sure in my calendar that I find other times to be inspired, like going to museums or going to other friends' shows who are doing art as well. Making sure that I feed that part of me. Otherwise, I'm not being true to who I am fully. You know. And I think it's easy sometimes to get lost in a role when you feel like you're doing it for the good of someone else. But it's important to keep that time and space sacred for yourself too. Otherwise, you end up becoming this empty vessel trying to pour into other people, and you realize that it doesn't work well that way at all.
Yeah, that's great advice.
That's really helpful. I know for April, I know just was saying for herself and same for me, it's very easy to not carve out that space to make your art and enjoy art or go be inspired by others' art. So yeah.
So how much work do you typically create, like in a month or a year?
Well, it's hard to say in a year because it really just depends on commissions, friends, family, clients who want other pieces or new clients. I just kind of gauge by how many people are approaching me for commission pieces, and I look at my calendar. Okay, what does my work look like? What time? How much time will these commissions actually take? Because it depends on the actual painting. And sometimes I'll close my commissions when I know that I have 2 or 3 really complicated pieces, and I just let them know that the pieces will be done when they're done. I don't like to rush myself because if I'm rushing, then I'm stressing, and any stress that I'm experiencing while I'm painting will come out in the art, So I think it's important that I just play it by ear and how I'm feeling and looking at my schedule and being realistic and compassionate with myself. And I have clients that are really great about waiting. So I just let them know the more complicated the piece, the longer it's going to take. But I also give them progress shots. So it's a collaboration. And so it's hard to say how long it takes for me on average to do a piece because it really depends on the complicated nature of the piece and what my therapy work schedule looks like as well. But okay, if I could give you a number, I would say maybe 3 months is a good span of time for me to complete a piece.
Is that what you mostly do, is commissions?
I like to do commissions. I really love to do my own work as well because with commissions, I can't put them in museums or exhibitions usually because they're usually very personal to the client that has commissioned that piece. But yeah, I try to set some time for me to do pieces that I enjoy for myself and exploring things that I like to do. And those are usually the pieces that I show for exhibitions and shows like that.
So for your commissions, because I try to keep up with what you're doing on your socials, what you're showing. I see kind of a mix of things, portraits, but I think also I've seen sort of some landscapes, things like that. So kind of a good mix.
Yeah, my commissions are usually a mix, but the pieces that I do for myself usually have some carrying theme about it. I've learned that if I paint something that's interesting to me, I need to keep painting it. Otherwise, I'll just be painting all these random things and it won't seem like I have a cohesive idea about my path as an artist, you know. And yeah, I really had to force myself to do that because I'll get inspired by something else that is, you know, complicated. And, okay, I want to paint that. But if I don't fully explore a theme or a subject, then I'm really not giving breath to all that it has inspired me with. I can't capture. So let's say I'm looking at a flower and I love to paint flowers. Okay, if I just paint that flower once, I haven't painted it from all sides. I haven't enjoyed it in its bloom, in its bud, as it's dying. I need to explore more. So I've been trying to do that more with the art that I do for myself and for shows to kind of really give that subject more life and breath. But it hasn't been easy because I'm sort of like a kid in the candy store. When I go out, I'm seeing all these kind of things that I like, and I'm being inspired. Oh, I want to paint this. I want to paint that. And if I'm not careful, then I will overwhelm myself with ideas and then do nothing. You know, so it's important that I at least pick one idea and then flesh it out and know that there will be people that will be receptive to it, because that's also something that I battle sometimes. What if what I paint isn't received by anyone? And then I have to go back to, well, why am I painting it in the first place? Well, it's important to me in my perspective. And if someone connects with it, then that's great and perfect. But that shouldn't be the one reason why I paint, because it will connect with someone, but it needs to be created and exist first. You know.
Great advice. Yeah.
Hmm.
Wow.
So
So,
what
oh, go
subject?
ahead.
Oh, sorry, Susan.
That's
What
okay.
subject are you kind of running away with right now? What are you working on?
So the subject I'm running away with right now is kind of what we're going to be talking about in the drawing activity. I'm really trying to explore different ways that people in Nigeria have communicated over the years, besides just talking, besides, you know, the internet, but really older ways of communication and how that has kind of informed the way that we kind of interact with each other now. So I'm trying to put that in my art as much as possible now.
Wow.
Susan, your question?
I'm trying to remember what I was going to ask. Actually was somewhat related to that. And so as someone who is Nigerian American, how is that informing your work? So you already partially talked about what is currently informing your work through that. Are any other ways?
I guess for me, I'm just trying to be as authentic as possible. And it's a little bit difficult because I was raised in America. So even though I do understand Yoruba, which is the name of my tribe and the language that we speak, it's still a bit foreign for me. So in effect, as I'm exploring my artwork, I'm also trying to carve out my identity as an American who is still tied to her heritage in Nigeria, even though I wasn't raised there. I mean, there's a difference of experience there, being in America and knowing that you have a heritage, knowing that in this house you are African. Outside of the house, okay, maybe you're influenced by different cultures, but if you're raised in Nigeria, that's all you know. So I kind of have to really speak from that experience and try to be as authentic as possible from that area, not trying to be, okay, I'm Nigerian, so everything I do has to have some kind of, I have to have some kind of, inflection when I speak. I have to be true to who I am, which is Nigerian American. And so I try to explore as much as possible without coming across as inauthentic to who I am.
Right. Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Does anybody else have any questions for Kemi? Can unmute. Here, I muted you earlier because I was getting some feedback.
I'm pretty sure I'm fairly familiar with your work, but I'm pretty sure for the most part it's figurative. Am I right?
Yes, most of my artwork is figurative. I do landscapes and I have done last summer, apparently a lot of people loved oceans. So I had two clients that wanted ocean paintings. And so I did that. And it was very difficult painting water. And I enjoyed the challenge very much. So, but for the most part, yeah, I do portraits and some mostly figurative work. Yeah.
Do you feel like there's something about the figure? I mean, is that your just, I mean, we are humans, obviously. So it's, and you're enraptured in a scientific pursuit to understand humans.
Mhm.
So your work representing humans probably just kind of clicks the most. You find that as maybe the richest area.
I feel like it is like the richest area because this is the way that we exist in these bodies. And especially me having a disability to where now there are certain things that I can't do with my body. Being able to paint it and see how people still interact in that way. And me feeling, okay, how can I in this body with this injury still interact and be a part of that? Um, I, I find that there is definitely more for me to explore the way that bodies kind of interact in spaces, whether they have a disability or not. And I feel like that's going to be something that I explore a little bit more obviously in my work as well. Because I don't do things too obvious in the art. I feel like I want to keep my message in the art a little bit vague so that other people can have genuine connections with it and stories with it, but having it to be, oh, this is what Kemi painted and this is what she meant by this artwork. But if I paint a body floating in space, well, a narrative can be different from each person that looks at that piece. And now they have a relationship from their experience rather than having an idea of what I thought about it and then leaving with that. So yeah, painting figurative work for me has almost like a limitless uh, area of inspiration.
I think you're pretty right. Art history would back you up on that too. That's pretty good.
Very good.
Do we have any other questions or comments or anything?
Yeah, you guys should be able to unmute in the bottom left corner.
Hi, this is Camille. I don't have a question, but I've known Kemi for a very long time. And I just want to say that I think you are such an amazing person. Your art is beautiful, but your heart is even more beautiful. I love you. You're such an inspiration. Um, the, the information that you shared is so quality, so solid. And I'm thankful that there is a you on this earth.
Thank you so much, Camille. That means the world to me. I so much appreciate like I don't know, I'm speechless. I'm not very good with compliments, I don't think. But I knowing that, you're here and you're supporting me in that way and you have seen, the things that I've dealt with and how I've come through them. I so much appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Camille. Wow. Well, if we want, we could go ahead and start our drawing activity. We're almost at that time, and then, if people have other questions, they can pop them in. And I did want to mention that, and I think that it's in Kimmy's slides that she's going to show at the end. But yesterday, we just hung an exhibit of Kimmy's work at the lighthouse. April and one of our interns hung that, and Kimmy, I believe, oversaw how that was being hung. And
Yeah, so send you the pictures, Kimmy. I took a few pictures.
Okay.
It looks really good.
All
And
right,
it's
well,
over at the Austin Lighthouse for the Blind in their hallway and in lobby off of Pleasant Valley Road.
so y'all will be able to go over and see an exhibit of her work. Is that up for 2 months, April?
It is, yeah.
Okay, and so their offices are open like a Monday through Friday, is that right? Like a 9 to 4 or something
Yeah, I
like
think
that?
it's like 9 to 4 their typical hours.
So
Really nice
I'm glad
people.
I'm glad we were able to kind of coordinate. Sometimes we're not as coordinated as we'd like to be, but boy, we got really coordinated this time. Yeah,
I know, we were like,
sitting
hey,
down and having
Kimmy,
a
you want to be
conversation.
like, she's on everything this month.
Well, that's what it is to be artist of the month. We want to deliver.
I'm noticing that. It was good.
Good thing you were so flexible.
Oh, well, no, I definitely appreciate being, named Artist of the Month. So whatever responsibilities that comes with, I want to be able to make sure that I can meet expectation.
Cool. All right.
Okay. All right. Ready to get started into the drawing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen, but I wanted to preface this drawing activity with just letting you guys know that make sure to have marker, something to draw with. Well, that is something to draw on, like paper, or even if you just want to watch, that's fine too. So what we're going to be talking about are the symbols that I use in my artwork, and I'm going to share my screen, share it so that we can. So basically, the two different types of symbols that I use in my artwork are from Adire and Adinkra. And Adire, is basically they're textiles that are special fabrics. They come from Nigeria. They're mostly known to be coming from the Yoruba tribe, which is my tribe in Nigeria. And on these patterns, these special fabrics they use a tie-dye method, and they use patterns to tell a story. A lot of times in Yoruba heritage, not a lot was actually written down. Everything was either spoken in story mode, we pass history down by speaking it, or we drew on fabric and gave a story of whatever it is that we're trying to convey on this fabric. And in Adinkra, it's a writing system that was used by the Akan people of Ghana. And I'm not from Ghana. I do have cousins and family members that are from Ghana, but I feel like since the countries were so close that it would be permissible for me to use those symbols as well on my art. Because West Africa has a very rich heritage, unfortunately, and not a lot of it was actually written down and recorded in the same way that other parts of the world kind of documented their history. So in this first drawing, it's a yellow painting of a young child. The front of the child's cloth is marked in these different symbols. Some of them are from Adire, which is Yoruba, and some of them are from the Adinkra, which is Akan in Ghana. So I'm going to go to the next slide, and it's going to show a little bit more of a breakdown of what some of these symbols mean. So in my artwork, I want each painting to have different symbols to show a different kind of story, a different intention behind the artwork. As you can see in the middle of this slide, there are different symbols. Each symbol has a different meaning, and I've been really intentional about how I use these symbols. So the top one is perseverance, and I've used it in the red painting because that red painting was supposed to be about passion, about following one's path and being very intentional about a goal. The blue painting, it's a painting of a young girl who, I'm using mostly blues in this painting, some golds, a lot of white, to convey a sort of a sterile, robotic type atmosphere to the painting. And in that painting, I used the symbol of knowledge, which comes from, that one is Adinkra. And so I use that symbol of knowledge to say, okay, in the idea of robotics and the idea of Afrofuturism, there is a sense of, well, there needs to be some sense of like data compiling. So I used that symbol for that painting. Other symbols that I've been really drawn to use is the power of love, the symbol for universe, and the symbols for waves of life, especially with me being an artist with a disability, knowing that I didn't have this disability my entire life. I have had to deal with the different waves of life, having to know when to let certain things go, when to, be my own kind of advocate. So I thought that was a really important symbol to use in my artwork. The next one is a talking drum, which is from the Adire heritage, the Yoruba culture. And the talking drum was another way that we would convey a story by using the drum beats, using the rhythms to show the ins and outs of a particular story that we're trying to share. And I'm going to go to the next slide, which is, let me see. So this next slide is kind of, that's what I had. I thought the next slide, I'll go to the next slide after that. Okay, so this next slide are the original pieces that I started my journey as an artist with the symbols. In each of these paintings, there's a different prominent symbol that I thought should be highlighted. One of them is the universe. The next one would be waves of life. And, oh, that's not it. And then the third one mostly has, there's a square in the middle, and then the square is a swirl, and that is the Adira symbol for long life. So even in the idea of me having this disability and having these challenges, I still want to have a long life. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back, and I wanted to start with a symbol that we already kind of use contemporarily, and we've been using for a long time outside of African heritage. And that symbol is called the akoma. And the symbol for akoma is, hold on. Can everyone hear me? I think I did something weird. We good? Okay.
Yeah.
So the symbol for akoma, I'm gonna draw it onto the screen. Gosh, this is taking more than I thought. Okay. Let's see, I'm gonna write it in this. Okay, so the symbol for akoma, oh goodness. So this, I'm not very good at drawing on a screen because I'm using my knuckles, but pretty much that. It's a heart. And when I discovered that, oh wow, like the symbol for heart came from the Akan heritage, I thought even more so this is an important thing to keep going and to really discover what other symbols have kind of maybe been lost to history that we don't use. But it's interesting, and it's a joy to see that the heart survived. And so something that we already use as a symbol for our heart came from the Akan people in Ghana. So that's the symbol for the heart, for love and for the heart. It's called akoma. What I'd like to do is kind of go back to the first slide, and we're going to try working out the more simpler drawings, the drawing for perseverance, the drawing for power of love, and the drawing for the universe and knowledge. So we're gonna, so we're gonna start with knowledge. And these are really simple. A lot of times when I'm doing these symbols, I'll start with the basic shape of the symbol. So this is gonna look a little bit kind of a little messy, but after drawing these symbols, I can then do patterns around the symbols to where they're not, to where they have almost like a rich tapestry to exist in. So I'll start with the symbols, and I know this is kind of really rough, but once the symbol is down like that, so that's the symbol for knowledge. Of course, it's a little bit crazy. It's a little bit all over the place, but only for the purposes of doing this activities are going to be messy. But after doing the symbol for knowledge, I would then reinforce it. So I'm going to go back to the drawing that I did, the blue painting. So you can see here is the symbol for knowledge. Well, around that, I've painted other different symbols or lines, or even just left it blank so that either the symbol is really prominent against the background, or I am letting it flow. Like with these symbols here at the bottom of the painting, they're in a tapestry of other symbols. So it becomes a flow of lines and shapes, but it also tells a story. So you can see that I put in the corner, there's a symbol for long life, there's a symbol for hope, there's a symbol for God's protection. So all of these kind of go together to say that this is what I want this painting to mean, but at the same time, it's still a tapestry. So I don't have to cram so many different symbols into one painting. But having different patterns around the drawing, around the symbol, help make it, like I said, a tapestry. So that's the symbol for knowledge. It's a little bit messy. The next one that, oh, I'm sorry, I should check with people. Since this is supposed to be like a drawing activity, does anybody have any questions about how I create this tapestry using these simple symbols? No questions. I just want to. I just realized that we are drawing together, and even though.
Should we be drawing along with you?
Oh, you don't. I'm sorry.
Should we be drawing along with you?
Oh, so you don't have to draw along with me. I can go back to this symbol so that everybody can actually see the different symbols. And since they're very simple, we don't have to. We don't have to draw together. I just realized that maybe I was going kind of too much in like lecture mode and not actually allowing people to sit with their drawings, and even thinking about what symbols speak to them. So I do want to give you guys that moment to kind of, okay, which of these symbols speak to you, and maybe choose one, and then we can create a tapestry around it. Like I can show different ways to create that tapestry of symbols.
Yeah, that would be interesting. How you're talking about how you create the tapestry. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for that, April, because I feel like I was going on a little bit of a runaway train, just kind of talking. But okay, so with that,
We were riding the train with you, I think. So.
Yeah. I lost this, I don't think.
I just wanted to make sure I didn't lose any passengers. I want to be respectful of everybody, kind of trying to be a part of it and not just watching. So what I'll do is I'll go to the next screen so that I have space to draw. And so I'll start, let me erase what I've already drawn here so that I can have room. So I'm erasing the knowledge one, and I'm gonna come back and do, let's do the power of love. So I'm going to create this egg shape first, and down the middle is that center line, and then different accent circles on the side, accents in the center, and then the head shape. So that's a very crude drawing for the power of love. But knowing that, let's say, okay, my piece of paper is like this. So we definitely need to work within certain boundaries. If I am drawing a tapestry, or if I'm trying to create a rich piece of work around the symbol, I would make sure that my accent marks go along with the shape. So if I have a circle, I'm not going to draw a bunch of straight lines around it. I would do curved lines so that it looks like the symbol is nestled in the tapestry. So along this curved line, I'm going to draw a couple of curved lines here, maybe 3, and then go an opposite way with straight lines, and then maybe even do like a square or a diamond shape. That way everything kind of flows away and around the actual piece. So you see I'm kind of filling things in, but not, I'm not trying to go against what the shape of the main symbol is. And sometimes I'll fill in that space with another symbol. So in this space here, can go the square. I'm not going to draw this well, I already know, because my knuckle is bigger than a pen. So, but I would draw maybe the square of the infinity of the long life symbol under here, and fill in the space with more lines that are straight or diagonal. And I'll go to an example of one of my pieces where I did that. So even, I wish I could zoom in. I don't think I can. I don't know how to, but let me actually erase these lines. So around the more, in this red piece, if you look up in the top of the red piece, there are different symbols that are kind of cradled and nestled in with each other. So we have the symbol for freedom, which is right here. Oh wait, let me actually, not laser pointer, but pen. So the symbol.
Individual people looking can zoom in. If you go over to the right side of your screen, there's a plus and minus. You can zoom in on what she's showing.
Okay, thank you, April. So I just circled the symbol for freedom in the red painting. It's in the top right, the top left-hand corner. So you see the symbol for freedom, but then also in that area, there's some triangles, there's some dots, there's some straight lines, curved lines to kind of nestle that symbol in that area.
The one that looks like a butterfly?
Yes, it looks like a butterfly, yes. So that is a symbol for freedom or emancipation, and that is a Adinkra symbol. And so I've nestled that in with different triangles, different other shapes. And so now it looks like it's a part of something rather than just being a lone symbol. Other things that I've put in place, if you look onto the shoulder of this figure in the red painting, there is a symbol for the power of love right on her shoulder in white. And so around that symbol, I've created different lines and other symbols, like the waves of life is now coming across her shoulder as well. And so you can tell how those symbols are fitting together like a tapestry or a jigsaw puzzle that you are creating yourself. And these symbols also can stand alone pretty powerfully. On the other side of her shoulder in red, I have painted the symbol for perseverance. So you can see it there standing alone on that. So freedom, power of love, waves of life, perseverance, they all kind of create a sense of passion and forward motion with this painting and creating that story. Okay, so let me see. Okay, 7:40. I just wanted to check with the time to make sure that we're still good on it.
Oh, we're good. Yeah.
Okay. Did anybody have any questions about these symbols or drawing them, or is there a symbol that anyone would want me to talk with them about, or how to draw that? I know you guys might have picked different symbols to draw and now are creating an environment for this symbol to exist in. Does anybody have any questions or comments about these symbols?
That's really cool. I like how you did that. I like how you were able to explain it.
Oh, thank you. Another one of the symbols that I think is sometimes a little bit complicated is the talking drum. So let me go to the next slide. The talking drum, the way that I would start that off, I'm just going to erase all of this. Erase. So the talking drum, it looks complicated because it's all the different shapes kind of interacting with each other. But I always start with one square, and then I put a star in the middle of that square. And then I fill in alternating. So I would fill this in and skip the next one and fill that in. and then skip that one and then fill this in. Oh gosh, okay, this is getting out of control. Let me go slower. And then skip that one and fill this in. And then that's the first, oh gosh, it's a little messy, but that's the first square of the talking drum. And then you just repeat it in the next one. So putting a star down and then filling in, but you should be filling in the same triangles that you filled in with the first one. Otherwise, it won't be a continuous pattern. It would end up being kind of mixed up. And I promise that when I do drawing classes, they are I'm much better at this than
Yeah, this is the quick
yeah,
thing.
this is very quick, and I'm usually not drawing on a PowerPoint like this at all. So this is a new skill that I have yet to master. But I thank you guys for being forgiving. And
Can I see the talking drum one again, back on the other side?
yes.
I forgot to look at that one. I was like, it was so complicated, I didn't even look.
Yeah. So that's the middle one on the right-hand side, the
Yeah.
talking. But if you start off with one square and just repeat that square back to back, then you have the talking drum. And I'll show you one of the pieces that I put this in. I put the talking drum in this piece right here. You can see a little bit of that kind of pattern. It's not exactly the triangles of the talking drum, but I believe I put it over here too. I can't really, let me see if I can move that. Oh, I can. So the talking drum is right here. Where's the talking drum is in this picture here on the right. So it's in both side pictures.
Okay.
Mhm. And when you're using that, you don't have to keep it a square. You can use it like fabric and kind of edit it in the way that I did here, where I don't have full squares, but you can tell that the pattern is the talking drum pattern.
Yeah, the way you explained breaking down that talking drum now, that made it a lot easier to figure it out. Yeah, thank you.
I'm glad that it made it easier.
Yeah. I really like the universe
Oh, you did? Okay.
symbol. I think it's because it's an eye. I always, and it reminds me of the Egyptian.
Oh, Eye of Horus. Yes.
Yeah.
So I feel like, in a lot of different human civilizations that, one of our senses that we rely on the most is our sight. And so when we say, okay, you have the foresight, you have the hindsight, a lot of the things that we say revolve around that idea. So when we think of the universe, well, the universe has to be all seeing or all knowing, right? And so that idea that the eye is a symbol for that kind of experience, it kind of makes sense when you look at different cultures that use the same eye as well.
Yeah, I think what's cool about this is how you're incorporating like these traditional cultural motifs, but since you're making this tapestry like you're talking about, like maybe you're inventing, do you feel like you're inventing kind of new combinations though of these symbols with each other and thus creating kind of your own pattern and language?
Yeah, exactly. It is because especially with these three pieces that I did, I call them my orikis. And oriki is basically like a story that someone tells about you, but it's not written down, it's passed on. So my grandmother created an oriki for me and my story about my accident and me overcoming, and obviously the story is not ended, but she created a story that has hope towards the future. And I wanted to put a visualization to my oriki. So my first oriki that I created was this one in the center, and I used different images to convey the fact that I had an accident. So here, the hand is pointing to my spinal cord, my vertebrae, where I'm missing a vertebrae. So I'm drawing lines to create where I have bones, and then I skipped it where, okay, during my car accident, now that bone is missing. So I'm putting my oriki into this way, into like visualizations and imagery in a way that is different, because orikis are traditionally spoken and not written down. So, I mean, thank you for bringing that up, Jerry, because that is something that I'm trying to do. Use older methods, but conveying new stories with them, but somehow still making it seem like old, because I'm painting on papyrus, so old paper, and things that look a little bit more aged and I guess more historical, but the story is very contemporary and it's about what's happening now in my life. Yeah. Thank you for seeing that. I appreciate when people can see things in that way.
How do you spell that word, oriki?
It's oriki, and it's
Oriki.
O-R-I-K-I.
Okay,
I
thank you.
believe that there might be 2 Ks, but maybe just one. I think it's just one. Did anybody else have any questions or comments about these symbols, or what symbols did you use? Does anybody want to share the symbol that, Lene?
Okay. Hey, Kimmy, long time no see. Thank you for inviting me to this. I'm enjoying it. Yes, this is, well, you know, I love your story. I've heard it before, but hearing it again now, it's so inspiring. And now actually you showing like how you put your heart on the canvas, it's been so beautiful. I wanted to ask you if there is, because I love how you've made these symbols your own. Is there at any point, like how is, like if you took a piece of it away, does it no longer symbolize what it said? Like how do you know, or how do you decide, I guess, like when you're going to attach other pieces to it as you're creating your tapestry? And like for me, if I wanted to incorporate some of these, how would I know when I could no longer say, oh, well, this symbolizes the power of love, or this symbolizes knowledge? Does that make sense?
So are you saying that, is there a point where the symbol no longer attaches to what it's originally meant?
Yes.
Okay, for me, it doesn't. I want to remain respectful of the people who created it. So I'm using them exactly as they are. So so for these different symbols that I put in the blue painting, I put them there purposefully so that they do integrate and create a story, but each of them themselves still mean what they're supposed to mean. So even if in this robotic painting, let's say I took out the long life, well, it doesn't take away from the painting itself, and it doesn't need to take away from the story, because a lot of times these symbols just help me reinforce what I put into the painting. So, but you know that I still want the audience to have a relationship with my art, even if they don't have a background or they're not Nigerian or from Ghana themselves. The object will always keep their meaning, and the painting itself doesn't lose any meaning if a symbol is not there. Thank you for that question, and I'm glad that you were able to come tonight.
Yeah, me too.
I like that when I look at perseverance, that it mirrors itself. So it almost like little feet on it. And it does, and it, if you flip it over, it still has that same base.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this symbol specifically was supposed to be representational of a wawa tree. And they're saying that, you know, wawa trees are very strong and they kind of grow anywhere that they really want to grow. So, and this symbol represents that. I didn't want to put the non-English words. I think that would have been taken too long for us to kind of get through. So I just put the English version of what these symbols meant. But it's good that you recognize that, you know, the symmetry of it and how the symbol kind of leads itself into what it means.
Yeah, that one, you know, makes sense to me,
Mm-hmm.
looking at it that way.
Suzanne, I think you had something. Did you want to say something?
Oh, no.
No, sorry, I was telling Suzanne.
Yeah. So I love doing kind of patterns and symbols and art, especially something that has meaning. I guess one of the things that I have a question about is, I mean, obviously I'm not of Nigerian or descent or from Ghana. And so I want to be respectful and be careful about like appropriation. So that's one thing. I mean, I love this, and I've actually just started trying to do a few pieces of art, and I'm not sure where to go with it. And this is inspiring me. So I'm like, wow, that would be great. But at the same time, I do want to be respectful of where it comes from and the people, you know. So do you have any suggestions? I mean, you're offering this to us right now for this experience, but then I want to be careful about how I use it going forward, and, you know, if I do, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think what would be important is for you to make sure that you are always attributing the symbols to where they came from.
Right.
Not representing yourself as an African artist or like that. But, you know, even saying that, you know, you came across the symbol in this, you know, from me, and you want to do more research on it. I even provide some websites where I found the meanings of these symbols. And I would say that as long as you are, if you're incorporating in your work and then always explaining where the symbol came from and how you are appreciative of the work, rather than saying that, you know, you like it and then you're not ever really attributing to the peoples that it came from.
Right.
Yeah,
and at this point, I'm just doing stuff for myself too. So I'm not selling and trying to represent something.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, I think it's very safe when you're doing it for yourself or even giving it to gifts as friends and family. But once it becomes, oh, I'm selling this work, then I think that's when, me personally, I would find issue with it, because then you're representing people that you aren't actually a part of. Yeah.
Right.
I think appreciation is important because you're spreading, you know, the awareness of a certain culture.
That's, I mean, I find it really beautiful. And like I said, I love patterns and symbols and putting a meaning that, you know, you might not know immediately what it means, but as you explain this, it makes it even more powerful and more, you know, just like you said, it tells your story, or it tells the story of the artist or the people that they're representing, you know, so yeah.
And thank you for that, because I think, especially in this climate, people either remain oblivious and you appropriate work or ideas and kind of fashion it as their own. But I think there's a line between appropriation and appreciation, and always being aware of where the source is and not taking credit for yourself. I think that's an important thing to keep in mind.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're very welcome. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you too again. Yeah.
Well, we actually have gone over our time a little bit, and does anybody have any last? I know I can't stop like coloring in here now. Does anyone have any last questions for Kemi? And here's all the ways that you can keep an eye on Kemi's art and on Kemi and what's happening. And some exhibits. Where is Dayton Art Institute?
It's in Ohio, so I don't expect you guys to go.
All right, I wonder. I was like, Dayton, well, they're in Ohio, but hey, there could be one here.
Yeah, it's in Ohio, and I'm not sure if they're gonna have a virtual aspect to their exhibit, but I just at least wanted to share that that part. And I forgot to put my email on here, but especially Suzanne, if you want more resources, I'd be happy to collaborate with you and give you some of my resources that I've used for my artwork. And I think you already have my email address, so you can just go ahead and email me.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Yeah, and you can always reach out to ArtSpark and outreach at artsparktx.org if you want to try to reach Kemi.
Well, I also just want to thank everyone for coming to this art talk. And yeah, I just appreciate being able to share this part of my process because it's the first time I've ever shared in this way. So I appreciate you guys kind of following along and asking questions and being so supportive. It really means a lot to me.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Kemi. Great. Well, we loved having you, and soon we'll have this up and on our YouTube channel, edited, and you can revisit it.
Okay.
Right.
All right. I guess.
All right.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a good night.
Thank you to our ArtSpark Texas funders: Texas Commission on the Arts, St. David's Foundation, Cultural Arts City of Austin Economic Development, National Endowment for the Arts, Creative Forces, Austin Public Library, Donald D. Hamill Foundation.